There it hangs, suspended in gloom, glowing dimly in darkness. A beacon there to inform us that there is always a way out. But don't go just yet. We have such wonderful things to show you. This is the Exit Light Podcast. Season 1, Episode 7, Bug Bites. Good evening, connoisseurs of the strange and fantastic. My name is Eli Beals, your storyteller for this evening. I am happy to bring you another morsel, freshly prepared and guaranteed to unsettle. This story is a recent addition to my collected works, which will be one of 20 or so new stories for The Exit Light, a collection of the perturbing sort, Volume 2, which will be eventually available on Amazon. I know, Amazon, the online titan that decimated bookstores globally. I once brought a copy of my novel to an independent bookstore that had a local authors section. The clerk held it a moment before asking where it was printed. Upon telling him, his expression soured, and he tossed it onto the counter. He was offended, but he didn't even read a single sentence in the book. Just a summary execution because it was printed from Amazon. I guess he had his reasons for being obstinate. Maybe Amazon hurt his livelihood in some way. To me, a book is a book, no matter where it was printed. And what's really important is the contents, because I'm a writer. All those details outside of that are lost on me. Oh, and speaking of my novel, it's something available to read, both in digital forms and physical. I'll put a link on the website if you're curious. In case you don't remember, it's exitlightpodcast.com. That's exitlightpodcast.com. If I had to summarize what my novel is about, I will just say the story has a vampire, but it's not a vampire story. There are bagels, but it's not a bagel story either. So, head to the website, check it out. Now, on to a story which perhaps adds meaning to the term skin crawling. John was not particularly adept at multitasking. Specifically, anything combined with being on the phone. He liked to think it was because he was giving the person or people on the other end his full attention, or rather, he had to, because without the nonverbal aspect of communication, he would zone out. He was running late. Well, later than he preferred to be anyway. He might have to forego his daily flat white and almond croissant at the cafe. Yes, that's fine. Blue's fine, he says with the phone pinned between his shoulder and ear, while attempting to slide a bare foot into a shoe. Hold on, I'm putting you on speaker, okay? With the phone set aside, the voice on the other end becomes less of a burden on his faculties. Yet as he slid his foot into the open mouth of the shoe, he didn't realize he wasn't wearing socks. I also kind of like the seafoam. It's more neutral, you know? Ah! What the hell?
John?
Concern tinged her question, knowing full well his clumsy disposition. There's something in my shoe, and He pauses as his foot emerges from the offending shoe.
And?
Her voice climbs in pitch with anxiety, screeching from the speaker. But John is not listening. His bare foot now bears an unusual addition. Wrapped around the toe adjacent to his big toe, the little piggy that stayed home, are black segmented spindles hooked into his skin. Pain shoots into the soft pad of his toe and he convulses in reflex, falling backwards off the bed.
John, what's going on?
On his back now, he angles his foot to one side to see what has attached itself to him. The second it's in view, he utters a choked scream. Not thinking about what it could be, he kicks out at the edge of the bed frame, hoping to obliterate this thing, this interloper, this terror. More pain erupts as his frantic attempts to dislodge it merely makes it squirm and clamp harder. He isn't thinking about what it's injecting him with, what toxins were now mingling with his own fluids. He is thinking a singular thought. Get off of me. Succeeding in only bruising his foot, he employs a more direct method of removal. Marcia is freaking out over the speakerphone, apparently torn between calling 911 and staying on the line for some kind of response from him. He sucks in a deep breath, steeling himself to confront the situation head on. It's no bug he's ever seen before, notably that it has only 4 legs and an almost burnished metal quality to its shell. His heart sinks as he observes that its head, or a good portion of it, is currently buried into the pad of his toe. He thinks of ticks and Lyme disease and decides it has to go. Tensing while reaching out with overcharged, nervous fingers, he grips the sides of its thorax lightly, resulting in an immediate reaction from it. Fire. His skin feels like it's on fire as it burrows with more fury. Shit, okay, he says, trying to shake out the fear from his hand. In a panic thrust, he pinches its body between thumb and forefinger and jerks it away, releasing in the general direction of the open bathroom. A soft thud is heard as the thing collides with the hull of the bathtub. John didn't care much for bugs, and as far as he was concerned, if found within his house, they were trespassing and deserved no mercy. "Just a second, Marsh," he says as he surveys the damage. The pain melts to a dull throb, and he can see his toe already beginning to swell. He would have to treat this with some antiseptic and stuff. But first, he has to make sure the offender is dealt with. It lays curled on itself like a cooked shrimp, its appendages still twitching. Arming himself with a toilet plunger, John slowly crushes it with a thick rubber lip. Satisfaction washes over him as he feels its carapace crack and eventually split in half. Confident that it poses no further threat, he hurriedly tosses its remains into the toilet and flushes. As it spirals down and out of sight, he wonders for the first time just what in the hell kind of bug that was. Too late, he thinks, as he rummages around for the first aid kit. "Marsh? Still there?"
Yes. You okay?
"Yeah, I was bit by some kind of weird bug."
Like a spider?
"I don't know, it had only 4 legs, I think."
Huh, weird. You're okay though, right?
A bit rattled, but sure, I'm fine. Feels like a bee sting.
Okay, well, you might want to talk to a doctor anyway, just in case.
That wouldn't be very manly of me, Marsh.
We both know how manly you are, especially around the sight of a little blood.
What are you... Oh, you got me there, Marsh.
I could practically hear you blushing. Don't worry about it, John. Call me later, okay? I've got a meeting with the gargoyles in 10.
You got it, babe. He smiles as he says this, as if to add more confidence to his voice. Her voice seems to smile back as she chirps.
Kisses.
Before hanging up. He's not as flexible as he used to be, and it takes him a few tries to get his foot positioned in a way that he can really survey the affected toe. His stomach lurches when he sees the dark shape submerged beneath the thick layers of skin, now shiny and swelling. Crap, he says as he pokes delicately at the toe with a pair of tweezers. Either I do this myself, or I go to the hospital. The thought of that waiting room, and the interminable amount of time between now and when he can be treated by steadier hands than his, weighs on him. Ah, hell. I have to get this thing out now. He gets up and hobbles to the kitchen to get some ingestible anesthetic, whiskey, a nice bottle of bourbon he got for his birthday that he's been saving for a special occasion. This isn't what he envisioned as that day, but nevertheless he takes an unceremonious slug and hobbles back to his operating room, a pleasant buzz already hitting him. His toe is now about twice its original size, and he can no longer see the thing buried in his flesh, as an angry welt had formed. He takes another generous swig and proceeds with his tweezers to operate. The swelling actually aids in its quick exit as it emerges with an upsetting amount of viscous ooze, ribboned with blood and clots of yellow stuff. He sighs as the pressure releases from his toe, leaving it feeling more or less normal. In the mess of effluvia, he prods at the object that was recently inside of him. Jesus, it's the whole frickin' head, he mutters as he looks closer at it with his phone camera zoomed in. He snaps a few pictures of it before setting the phone down to resume treating his wound. He cleans it with antiseptic and some antibiotic gel before bandaging it up neatly. John hates being late. The situation notwithstanding, he sends a few texts to various people invested in his punctuality and finishes his routine of getting ready. Before he even makes it to his front door, John collapses, vaguely aware that his phone is buzzing in his fading grasp. His face hurts as he emerges from blackness. Groaning, he turns his face away from whatever is causing the discomfort. A metallic scraping on the tile floor informs him that he has been using his keys as a pillow. A puddle of drool surrounds them, and he pushes himself to a sitting position to wonder about how he came to be here. What the hell? He glances up through the glass panels in the door to see them dark. What time was it? What year was it? His mind struggles with reacquainting himself to the now. His phone lays dark near the table in the entryway. It's dead, he realizes, and struggles to his feet to get his bearings on his temporal disposition. It's not exactly pain that he senses in his foot as he stands, but an absence of feeling entirely, like when a limb falls asleep due to lack of blood flow, except that it's centralized in the general area where he was bitten. Sighing, he proceeds back to his bedroom, wondering if maybe he had too much to drink on an empty stomach. The explanations turning in his mind desperately, attempting to ease him away from the ledge of panic. He pops the charging cable into his phone and he lays down, feeling the aches of his recent state settle into the pillow top. His gaze slides to his foot, covered in leather and argyle sock. A normal-looking thing, he thinks, but what will he see when he removes those layers? Dread creeps over him, and he regrets bitterly not rushing himself to the ER. Did he really want to see? What if they end up amputating his foot? What if the bug was venomous, and he's just laying here, dying like an idiot? His phone returns to life as it lights up with notifications, missed calls, texts, email status, updates on Twittergram, and of course the date and time. It's still today, he thinks. 9 hours? He groans, and lets the phone drop near him to resume charging. An explosion roars somewhere near his house. The ground shakes momentarily and the lights flicker, fade, and wink out completely. What the? He sits up, suddenly alert and aware of his heartbeat. His phone buzzes again. The screen glares red with a national emergency message. Attention. Stay in your homes, close all windows, vents and drains. This is not a test. Please remain calm and stay indoors until the situation is under control. What the hell? Sliding to the other side of the bed, he steps to the window and flings the curtains open. It's pitch dark save for a few houses that have backups. Otherwise, it looks as it usually does. Placid, serene suburbia. Movement on the window screen catches his attention and he freezes. It's too dark to discern any details, but he can hear it plink ponderously over the screen on spindly hooked legs, as if searching for a way inside. Jesus Christ, there's more of them. He limps over to his nightstand where he thinks he has a flashlight, and sure enough, it's there, and it works. The illumination doesn't help his rising apprehension, as now he can see that there are several of these things scuttling about on the window. They seem attracted to the light source as they begin to converge upon the beam. He notices they don't look exactly like the one he peeled off of himself in what feels like a long time ago. They seem rounder, fuller even, and he realizes something that makes his skin crawl and draws his attention to the numb appendage that he has been willfully ignoring. In a daze, he removes his shoe and slips the sock from his foot. There is no pain, but there is something very wrong with his middle toe. The harsh beam from the flashlight glints off the skin that looks waxy and almost metallic. John reaches a trembling finger and gasps as his fingernail plinks against a venous, hard shell instead of soft skin. The light jitters as he trembles in revulsion, causing the shadows to waver and dance, and there in that shadow he sees a form within a red projection on his comforter. Like an amniotic bulb, he sees a dark form within his toe, and it's moving. The flashlight slips and tumbles to the carpet, and he just heaves panic breaths in the gloom. Maybe from extreme shock or mental exhaustion, he had passed out again, and wakes to the sound of a slight scraping. Morning light beams in through a break in the curtain, and upon seeing his foot, he slumps into a pitiful groan in realization that this was not just some horrible nightmare. Not knowing what else to do, he just watches in detached fascination, passively observing a nature show or documentary. He doesn't react when the thing pushes itself from its chrysalis that used to be his toe, its form a compact pill of milky wings and glistening chitin. It pries itself from the husk and begins to stretch its limbs. The shape of this thing is strangely toe-like, John thinks, as if his former digit had reincarnated itself into a separate insectoid being. Its eyes a compound veneer, rounding out in the shape of his former toenail. Its thorax a creased knuckle that ends in a tapered point. Its blood vessels fill the armature of its four wings that fill out and flap lazily, testing, running pre-flight checks apparently. John feels an animal rage rise up inside of him, watching it attempt to go at flight, but it seems it's not yet strong enough and it flops to the bed cover in buzzing frustration. He waits long enough for it to succeed in achieving its hopes and dreams as it flits onto the windowsill. With a barbaric fury, he roars as he brings his loafer down hard upon the newly hatched creature. John continues his flurry of blows until his bloodlust results in a sharp crack in the glass, which calls his attention outside. A massive insect bumbles by, propelled by several sets of small, fast-beating wings. The shape is a human head. Large, kaleidoscopic eyes glitter like disco ball sunglasses on an umber mannequin. The 4 hook-ended appendages sprout from either side of the stump of a neck. It thumps lazily into the side of his house and drifts off out of sight. Across the street, a leg and an arm fly in meandering arcs, almost as if they are just out for an early morning jaunt. John utters a bemused laugh. In spite of everything, the power returns like an afterthought, like an apology, and so does his phone network and all the things that form a polite society. The shelter in place remains in effect. Marcia has left him several missed calls and texts. He listens and reads, and through this time, with the phone pressed to his ear, his bemusement sinks into sorrow. Marsh, in her desperation to reach him, had broken the stay indoors mandate and found herself swarmed by these creatures. John can only imagine how many of her parts are just floating around in their new iterations. Well, I guess it's just you and me then, he says to the bottle on his nightstand. Bug Bites is a story about metamorphosis, obviously, but also about change and how delicate human society really is. Society functions fine, no matter what horrors are inflicted on the individual. But when a disruption occurs to the group as a whole, then it's a pandemic, a term we are all familiar with by now. All of our routine concerns are completely swept away by some all-consuming threat that erodes every aspect of our day-to-day life. Stories like this are cautionary and perhaps reassuring in the sense that for many of us, life's pretty good. We have running water, electricity, and many other comforts that insulate us from the dangers of the world. Fun fact, humans are outnumbered by insects 200 million to 1. And I don't think that even includes spiders. So it makes you wonder, what is really on top of the food chain? Until next time, dear listeners, good night.